was the longest-standing mistress who followed Qin Huayuan, and it was well known that I was head over heels in love with him. Yet, I was smart and obedient, never meddling in his affairs. Everything changed when Xiao, his moonlight obsession, returned from abroad. I overheard their passionate encounter in the bedroom. Later, clad in stilettos, Xiao approached me step by step. My face was slashed beyond recognition by a rusty knife, and I met a gruesome end in an abandoned parking garage. Unexpectedly, Qin Huayuan searched frantically for me like a madman, though I was already dead. "Master, where are you heading?" "But dinner, you'll have to eat alone." Qin Huayuan glanced coldly at me, though the faint curve of his lips betrayed him. Disappointment flickered across my face as I lowered my gaze. "All right," I murmured. He sped off exuberantly in his car, while unease gnawed at my gut. Frantic, I dialed Chenzhou, Qin's friend. "Hello, this is Wenli." My voice trembled as I hung up, haunted by Chen's taunting words. "Don't you know? His ex-girlfriend in Zhao's back." How could I not know? For 5,000 nights tangled in his sheets, Qin had whispered her name countless times, right beside me. Abandoning the steaming dishes, I grabbed my keys and raced to the airport. Among the crowd, Qin's towering figure stood out. Crisp shirt, silken tie, tailored suit, a masterclass in contrast and luster. His shoulders bore an avant-garde edge, blending rebellion with delicate masculinity. His burning gaze fixed ahead, roses clutched in hand. "Darling," a bright voice sliced through the air, and Xiao emerged in a fiery red dress, heels clicking, radiating confidence. They embraced, eyes locked on none but each other. I felt like maggot meat, staring enviously at their reunion, that I trailed their car to a suburban villa. Self-mockery twisted my lips. So this was why Qin had suddenly obsessed over interior designers these past 2 months. Peering through the windshield, I watched the villa lights snap off. They never emerged. The next day, rain lashed relentlessly. I sat frozen in my car all night, hallucinating their laughter, whispers echoing in my skull. Tears blurred my vision. Dizziness consumed me. Through the downpour, a tall silhouette materialized, and Xiao, she tapped my window, crimson marks staining her neck. My throat tightened. "Enjoy eavesdropping," she purred. She'd known all along. Wordless, I shook, knuckles white on the steering wheel. With a nod to her guards, rough hands dragged me into a battered van. Thunder roared as rain drowned the world. I fumbled for my phone, and Xiao watched, unfazed. Dialing Qin's number yielded only static. "The subscriber you dialed is powered off." Her cruel smile confirmed it. He'd blocked me. Fury burned in my eyes. "What do you want?" She slapped my cheek. "Qin said he leaves you." To my mercy, my pupils filled with tears. He promised me forever. How could he throw me to his ex? Bound by thugs, I was hauled to that deserted garage. Soaked, half exposed. Predatory stares violated me before they even touched. 5 minutes felt eternal. "Tell me your price," I screamed, and Xiao advanced, rusty blade glinting. She was Satan herself. Consciousness slipped away. When I opened my eyes again, I floated above my mangled body. My face was a ruin of rusted steel, scars crisscrossing flesh, arm bent grotesquely, blood pooled brown beneath me. This is how I died. I embraced myself midair. Next life. Wenli, don't fall for Qin Huayuan. Driftings led me to Qin and Anne's villa. A month had passed. They lounged post-breakfast. Sirepis fait. On the calendar hung proof. My corpse lay unclaimed for weeks, and Xiao coiled around Qin's waist. "Who are you looking for?" she cooed. He patted her hair, dialing Chenzhou. "Found her." Silence answered. Hanging up, his eyes darkened, and Xiao stiffened. "Still pining for little Wenli?" she pouted. He soothed her. "Only you exist in my heart." My ghostly fingers clenched. "You handed me to her, yet hunt for me now." I drifted after those two people, only to see Qin Huayuan's anxiety grow worse by the day. He buried himself in work as if labor itself could erase or atone for something. He no longer even noticed Zhao's coquetry or gentle advances, forever staring at his phone, then lunging to answer whenever Chenzhou called. Sometimes he simply sat dazed in the villa, clutching my favorite rag doll, and sleeping the only deep sleep he still knew. I didn't understand. Wasn't having Xiao enough? Then one day Chenzhou rang again. His voice on the other end faltered and stumbled, irritating Qin Huayuan. "Did you find her? How dare Wenli vanish for so long? How dare she not come to me when she gets back? I swear I'll." I leaned closer. Chenzhou's words leaked from the receiver. "Wenli, she's dead." "What did you just say?" Qin Huayuan's knuckles bulged around the phone. Beads of sweat dotted his forehead. He closed his eyes, inhaled sharply, and barely steadied himself by gripping the desk. "The body's been sent to the First People's Hospital for autopsy," Chenzhou said. The call ended, but Qin Huayuan stayed frozen. Finally, he hurled the phone. It shattered against the wall. The little assistant at the door ventured. "President Qin, what's wrong? Get out! Get out!" he roared. Eyes so bloodshot they looked ready to bleed. He collapsed onto the office sofa, gasping, muttering over and over, I don't believe it. I don't believe it. Then he scooped up the broken shards and stormed out. That he didn't head to the hospital. He came to our little home, originally nothing more than a kept woman gift from him. I had turned it into a real home. Every corner still held traces of our old tenderness. He used to sneak up behind me, bury his face in my neck, whisper in my ear. On my birthday he cooked an entire table of dishes, some too salty, some too bland, with bits of eggshell in the eggs, and I cried, I love you. But all of that vanished the day Xiao returned that I watched Qin Huaiyuan rush from room to room, frantic, knocking things over without noticing. Lily, where are you? He suddenly shouted in the empty hall. No one answered. I floated nearby, confused. They already told you, I'm dead. Lily, stop fooling around. Are you angry that I blocked you? I'm sorry, I'm sorry. He fumbled with the broken phone, but the screen stayed black. Panicked, he scanned the room, still calling my name. Lily Wenli, they say you're dead. They're cursing you. He spotted the rag doll on my bed, snatched it, and hugged it to his chest. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. I watched him tear through the house half mad, laughing and weeping at once, pitiful. Eventually Chenzhou arrived. Huaiyuan, what are you doing? He asked, startled. I don't believe it. Qin Huaiyuan's voice was hoarse, as if blood pooled in his throat. Chenzhou dragged him to the hospital, straight to the morgue. Qin Huaiyuan stood before my corpse. Trembling, he lifted the white sheet. My face appeared, bloated after a month without preservation, lacerations crawling with maggots, livor mortis blooming in patches. It was barely human that he closed his eyes, his lids quivered, his hand, suddenly boneless, reached for the tag. When Li.at last he believed, I was truly dead. He crumpled to his knees, regret and terror twisting his features. Lily, say my name, please. Why won't you say my name? I let out a cold laugh. In over 5,000 days and nights with him, I had only been allowed to call his given name a handful of times, always when he tormented me in bed, then looked down with a mocking smile. You think you're worthy of speaking my name? So I swallowed my longing and called him, young master. I was foolish. A name seemed trivial, until I heard Xiao shower him with every pet name imaginable, and he answered to them all. Only then did I realize the error had always been mine. Now this blue-lipped, disheveled, ugly woman could say your name, yet the dead don't speak. The coroner appeared, autopsy report in hand. After confirming Qin Huaiyuan was next of kin, he sighed. Too cruel, too pitiful. The girl's face was slashed 13 times, rusty blade, uneven cuts. Whoever did this wanted to prolong her agony. What sin could she have committed? I hovered, silent. Each recollection sharpened the pain. If only I had said long ago that I never loved Qin Huaiyuan. Would I have died differently? Or was my only sin loving this heartless man? Chenzhou finally composed himself. He lifted the sheet back over my face, feigning calm. Just a mistress, Huaiyuan. Besides, you have Xiao now. Qin Huaiyuan stiffened. The words lodged in his throat. In seconds, the once invincible titan of the business world was rendered mute. Chenzhou rubbed his neck awkwardly and delivered the final blow. I probably shouldn't tell you, but you should know. When Wenli died, she was pregnant. What? Though I floated in midair, I felt my legs give way. Nausea churned inside me, followed by a prickling pain. My child. I never even knew he existed. Qin Huaiyuan's knees buckled. He collapsed right onto the cold floor, hands flailing until they found my corpse. Without a flicker of disgust for the putrefying flesh, he pressed his face into my stiff, discolored palm. I saw his eyes fill with water. Fat tears splashed onto the tiles. Lily, I was wrong. I really know I was wrong. Come back, please. I'm begging you. He howled in the morgue. Chenzhou watched in silence. Only after a long time did Qin Huaiyuan manage to push himself upright, voice quavering but resolute. Chenzhou, find out for me, who did this to Lily? I drifted beside them, stunned. So he truly had no idea it was Xiao. The whole scheme had been hers alone. We had met only once. Was being Qin Huaiyuan's mistress reason enough for such hatred? I followed the man with bloodshot eyes as he left the hospital and drove to our little home. He stood frozen at the bedroom door, then pushed it open with trembling fingers. Lily, you're here, he whispered to the empty air. He stumbled to the bedside, arms outstretched, then clutched only the rag doll. It's fake, all fake, he croaked, a bitter smile twisting his lips. I looked on unmoved. When I was alive, he had never treasured me. Days blurred, and Xiao rang nearly 800 times. Every call went unanswered. Qin Huaiyuan sat on the floor, paging through our photo albums, mostly pictures I had taken of him, only a handful showing me. Whenever my face appeared, his thumb would trace it, lips curving into a smile that never reached his eyes. Lily, you left me so little. I had played the perfect mistress, terrified one. Misstep would get me thrown out. I loved him too much. I thought that love could melt him. I had never never guessed that my years of devotion would be obliterated by the return of a white moonlight. At last Chunzhou rang the bell. He sighed at the sight of Qin Huayuan drinking straight from the bottle. Huayuan, she was just a mistress. Qin lurched up, eyes unfocused, and landed a soft, drunken punch on Chunzhou's cheek. Mistress? Fuck you. He sank back among the scattered bottles, laughing brokenly. She used to tell me to drink less, would brew sober-up soup, massage my shoulders. On my birthday the family threw a grand banquet, but Lily brought me a tiny cake she'd spent all day baking. Flowers streaked her hair, dotted her nose. She was beautiful, stars in her eyes. Only now do I know that was love, yet I never cherished it. I never realized I loved her, until now. Chunzhou rubbed his jaw unoffended. After a long pause he said, I found who killed Wen Li. The alcohol drained from Qin's blood in an instant. Who? And Xiao. I fixed my gaze on him, waiting. Would the crime be swept away, because the murderer was her? Qin's face turned glacial, breath ragged. And Xiao killed you because of me. In the end, I'm the one who got you killed, aren't I? Had I still possessed flesh, I would have seized a club and screamed, yes, you ruined me. His expression hardened, resolve settled like iron. He dialed in Xiao. Yuanji, you finally called. Why haven't you come to see me? His voice was gentle ice. We'll meet very soon. A few days later thunder crashed and rain sheeted down. Qin Huayuan watched the windshield wiper swing, face blank, and Xiaoan, her red dress and dagger, heels the same shoes that had once caused me agony, splashed through puddles to the car. Yuanji, where are we going? It's pouring. She tried to smile. Yuanji, say something, what's wrong? I hovered in the back seat as the road grew familiar. At last the garage loomed. Qin Huayuan, why did you bring me here? And Zhao's mask cracked, she shrieked. He dragged her out into the downpour, threw her to the exact spot where I had once lain. And Xiao, does this place feel familiar? She went white, teeth chattering from cold and fear. I don't know what you mean. Take me away, please. Qin gave a short, ugly laugh, gripped her chin so hard bones creaked. What did Lily ever do to you? Answer me. Tears and rain streaked in Zhao's face. I hated her. All those years abroad I was terrified. You'd fallen for her. You wouldn't have kept her so long otherwise. If you loved her, you wouldn't have stayed with me, wouldn't have waited over a month after her death to even notice. Do you know she kept calling you as she died? But you had her blocked. A slap sent her sprawling, and Xiao looked up into Qin Huayuan's eyes, burning with fury and bottomless regret. No, how dare you? Qin Huayuan ground the words between clenched teeth, his eyes already scarlet, and Xiao only smiled, as though she had finally breached his last line of defense. Admit it, you never loved her. He kicked her down with brutal force, and Xiao curled around her stomach, gasping. I watched Qin Huayuan's face dissolve into tears. The hand covering his eyes shook. Sorry, I'm sorry. I knew he was drowning in regret that no longer concerned me. And Xiao caught her breath and laughed again. Qin Huayuan, you deserve this. You really deserve this. Don't tell me you've actually fallen for Wen Li. When she loved you, how did you treat her? Now she's dead and you punish me? Pity Wen Li is gone. Haha, let me go and the rest of your life can still be spent with me. Kill me and you'll live forever in shadow. Qin Huayuan wiped his face with 2 careless swipes. Deep pools of light flickered in his pupils, then iced over. And Xiao, you overestimate your importance. Her eyes shrank. The last spark of hope guttered out. He snapped his fingers. A bodyguard stepped forward with a rust-pitted knife, almost identical to the one that had once sliced my face. And Xiao shook her head frantically, scrambling backward. No, Qin Huayuan, help. The bodyguard ignored her pleas. The dull blade rose and fell, carving into her cheeks again and again. The warehouse filled with her screams. I watched without blinking, without pity. When the air was thick with blood, Qin Huayuan finally lifted a hand. Enough. And Xiao was no longer recognizable. Skin split, ground a river that lapped at Qin Huayuan's shoes. He drew a handkerchief, wiped his fingers, and spoke like a devil pronouncing sentence. Keep her alive. They dragged her to a private hospital. The doctors stitched in silence. No one dared utter a word. A month later the bandages came off. Thick, ropey scars crawled across her face. She laughed like a madwoman when she saw the mirror. Qin Huayuan, are you satisfied? What more do you want? He only smiled, demon calm. I want you to suffer. That is my revenge for Lily. The scars were reopened in exactly the same places, then sewn again. The cycle repeated, tear, heal, tear, until each round hurt 100 times worse than the last. Her screams grew hoarse then silent. She could no longer form words. Every time Qin Huayuan stood by, coldly watching. When it was over he said, you owe this to Wen Li. Finally she broke. They brought her to my grave. She kowtowed until her forehead bled. Wen Li, I'm sorry. In my next life I'll be your ox or horse. Please spare me. She babbled apology after apology, mind unmoored. I hovered before before her, unmoved. They hauled her away. Qin Huayuan remained. After learning of my death, he had erected the headstone himself. The photo was the only one we had taken together, yet this was his first visit. Lily, are you satisfied? Will you forgive me? His voice was so soft I barely heard it over the wind. Again and again the cycle continued, until Xiao was truly insane, then deposited in a psychiatric ward. I felt no pity, only that justice had been served. Qin Huayuan, meanwhile, grew eerily calm. He threw himself into work with suicidal intensity, laboring day and night. When exhaustion finally claimed him, he clutched my rag doll and murmured my name, paging through our old photographs. He became obsessed, converted a small room into a shrine of our memories, crimson-eyed, whispering, "Wen Li, how much you once loved me, I've almost forgotten. I miss you. I was wrong. Don't abandon me." I had grown used to the spectacle, and wondered only when I could finally dissolve and be at peace. One rainy evening he closed his laptop for the last time, and rang Qinzhou. "Hey, did you get my text?" "Qin Huayuan, what the hell are you doing? Why are you transferring the whole company to me?" He laughed, suddenly light. "Thank you for finding Lily. Now I'm going to her." "Wait." Qinzhou's protest was cut short. The call ended. Ignoring the downpour, Qin Huayuan walked to the cemetery. Rain sliced through my ghost but soaked him to the bone. He sat against my headstone, then slowly lay down, forehead against the cold marble. Thunder rolled. A flash of white blinded me. When sight returned, he was staring straight at me. "Lily, is it you?" I hesitated, then waved a translucent hand. He spoke in disbelief, tears mingling with rain, laughing like a fool before slapping himself. "Hallucination. But I found you." I sighed. "I know everything." For small words made his whole body seize. He smiled, wretched, afraid to blink lest I vanish. "Wen Li, will you forgive me?" I shook my head. "No." His breath froze. He swayed as if the next gust might topple him. He pressed a hand to his heart, gasping, then collapsed to his knees, reaching for my leg, only to grasp air as I drifted back. "Lily, say my name. Just once." I closed my eyes. "Young master." He broke. Hands clawed into the muddy earth. The once proud prince now bowed like a penitent child. "Not that, my name. Say my name." He sobbed, raw and ragged. I knelt until we were eye level, voice flat. "Young master, I am not worthy to speak your name." He froze, mouth opening and closing, the memory of every cruel word returning like knives. I stood, for the first time looking down at him, yet felt no triumph. "Qin Huayuan, do not commit suicide. If you die too soon we'll meet on the wheel of rebirth, and I don't wish to see you again." His eyes hollowed. "Lily, you truly no longer love me? We were once so." I laughed bitterly. "When did we ever love?" Through my eyes, whom were you seeing? How many times did you almost call me in? Xiao, you assumed ID. Never leave your ever loyal lapdog. Only after my death did you remember my worth. We never loved. I only regret loving you. His tears burst forth, choking on fragments of apology. He scrubbed his face, summoned courage to look up, then dropped his head again, repeating, forgive me, forgive me." Another thunderclap. I rose into the air. He flailed like a marionette with cut strings. "Lily, Lily." At the foot of my grave he knelt, rain drumming on stone. I noticed a rusted knife lying in the mud where he had walked. He did not touch it. He went home and began to drink himself senseless. Qinzhou rushed him to the ER again and again. Within months the man who had once commanded boardrooms was a husk. At last the doctor delivered the verdict: advanced blood disease. Qinzhou stood silent. Qin Huayuan merely smiled, vacant, lips trembling. "Lily, I'm not committing suicide." He turned to Qinzhou, pleading, "Bury my grave beside hers, will you? She doesn't want me with her, but I don't want to be far." Qinzhou could only nod. Qin smiled, joyful, as though death were a promise. Again and again the ambulance came. Finally the monitors flatlined. As he breathed his last, the world around me went black, and I too vanished.